All right. We good, David? Okay. All right. Welcome to the Chicago Black Social Culture Map. We are glad after 2 years of this ongoing pandemic madness to be back live. And this is our first program of 2022. We Take Care of Us. It's a continuation of a conversation we actually started last fall, thinking about the house music as community and supporting each other and larger culture through the ethics and politics of music and dance and culture. So we are glad to have this panel with us today to discuss that further and through the work that each of them is doing in community supporting the larger culture. So I'm Maida McNeil, and we are also in collaboration with the Blackavists, the Modern Dance Music Archiving Foundation. Some of our key members are Lauren Lowry and Skylar Hearn, who are leading our archiving team, who are also here today and upstairs digitizing artifacts that folks have brought in. This is part of how we continue to build the stories of this culture by preserving them and then sharing, digitizing things and actually sending folks home with kind of a flash drive of their stuff. The other members are Jody Presser, Dwayne Powell, Abra Johnson, who am I forgetting, Joe? Kamiko Roberson, Micah Salkine, Lady D, Lori Branch, and Larissa Johnson, rest in peace, is a part of our group. And so we are going to, we're going to kick off this conversation today. I'm going to introduce our moderator, and then we'll get going. So Daniel Sanders is a journalist, entrepreneur, writer, content creator, and managing editor of The Defender. She serves as the official content creator for the Chosen Few DJs, Hyde Park Brew Fest, and the Summer Oasis Music Festival. She's also the owner and founder of Black Widows Web, a website dedicated to the Chicago entertainment scene and culture. A frequent contributor to the Chicago music scene, she is featured in the award-winning documentary film, The Debauchery Ball. And our videographer today is the director of that, David Weathersby. It started, in the book. Okay. And she's also featured in the book In Their Own Words by Jesse Saunders. She is also a house music recording artist under the T.S. Fox record label. T-Fox, okay, thank you. And was recognized in 2021 as one of the top vocalists for the year by Tracksource. Okay, many talents. All right, so
thank you so much. I am ready to get started with an incredible conversation, but first I want to introduce our panelists today and have them tell you guys a little bit about themselves. So we'll start with you, Chef Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael Earhart. Grew up in Audio Gardens. I'm a doctor, Michael Chef Earhart. Got my doctorate a little bit over a year, I think, ago, for philanthropist and humanitarian, and also about to be an ambassador of Uganda. In May, I graduated. Little secret I let out. But that's it.
DJ Alicia. I am also the founder of Legacy Arts Center for Education, which we're going to talk about a little bit later today. So music and philanthropy and so that's me.
How's it going? My name is Vince, DJ Vince Adams, and family. it's a little surreal to be in this room as a South Sider guy who used to come here on field trips. This was like the library to come to. Anybody born after 1988, you might not know much about libraries, let alone the library to go to. But I was born and raised in South Shore, and this was like the field trip that you made to come to the good library. And for us to be back here now, some 40 plus years later, is pretty amazing. Started off as a bedroom DJ, just a fan of music, and through the encouragement of friends over the years, kind of established a reputation around the country, around the world for some very just different and innovative things. So I'm sure that we'll dig a little deeper as we go, but it's great to be home here at Carter G. Woodson.
We're gonna work with this one, Mike. So just be a little patient with us today. So let's kick it off. As we discuss this idea of preserving our culture, preserving the culture of house music, preserving its legacy, we're coming out of a pandemic where clubs and certain places, spaces that we used to go to enjoy the music just did not survive. So as we're looking to the future, as we're coming out of this pandemic, what can we do right now in the space that we're in to continue to cultivate and keep this culture alive when there are not too many spaces for us to enjoy the music anymore?
So that's my answer is kind of two-pronged. So in Legacy Art Center, we're going to say LACE. In LACE, one of the facets of the program that I am in charge of, and Danielle is also in charge of a section of LACE as well, is music. So I am training young girls to try to preserve house music and try to keep house music alive, and teaching them DJ skills. So the event spaces, I think we are still at an advantage because we have the opportunity to rent out spaces, create spaces. We're at the age where we can purchase spaces. So I, though some of the clubs or lounges or that kind of thing might not have made it, we are privy to any space that we create. You know what I mean? To continue to have those events. So I'm not really worried about them falling off. What about you?
Here's what I'll say. I have a buddy who's pretty prominent in the music industry. We were just talking about music in general, and he said, "Do you know how?" And he's a graduate of Kenwood. I'm a graduate of Whitney Young, and he was saying, "Do you know how wild it is that I have kids that play basketball, and in the layup line, these kids have on headphones where they're listening to their own music in the layup line. Whereas when we used to have layup lines back in high school, like it was a sound that was over the school auditorium or over the speakers. And now each of these kids, they're listening to their own soundtrack to the day and just kind of decentralized or disconnected in the same layup line. So I think that one of the simplest solutions is just get back to listening to music together as a family. That was how we all, if you were born before 1979, grew up, where you were listening to what mom was listening to in the car, in the basement, until you got your own stereo, until you got your own car. You listen to what they listen to. So even though we may not have listened to Jackie Wilson or Sam Cooke, we knew who they were. They were part of us. So I'm not even going into the Isaac Brothers and the stuff that we like. We might not have been listening to Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson, but it wasn't like, who is that? But now these kids are like, who's Stevie Wonder? Or who's Marvin Gaye? So even outside of house music, we have to start to listen to music together as a family. I think that is one of the traditions that we've kind of lost just through technology. And I see a buddy of mine, Kim C, in the room where, we tease her daughter for dancing with her at my virtual parties. But that impression that's being made now at that age is going to last her for a lifetime. So I think that one of the simplest solutions is just to get back to listening to music in general, Black music as a family. And of course, you know, us being house fans, house heads, that will just continue to extend from there.
I'm definitely going to speak on this one. Uh, Even what I'm doing today as a advocate against homelessness, house music is a spiritual thing. And if you don't know what that is, if you ain't been touched by that bug, like I'm a soulful house person, and when it hit that spot, like I'll be cooking, and I throw on some good old soulful house. It gives you a feeling that I remember when I was growing up in the projects and B96, BMX and Farley was getting on the air and it'll come on and GCI and when that thing say Farley, Jack Master, I went crazy. I'm in there trying to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I have my mom back to go to feed my friends, and that gave me the motivation. House music for me, it's not going nowhere. It's more of us getting back, supporting producers, buying their tracks, going to track stores. I buy even music that gives me a little bit. I buy it because I support all producers. I support house, and it just house is just something. It's a gospel thing that gives you when you lost someone. If I'm reaching you, you could be in the middle of you just lost someone, and all of a sudden you hit that gospel out zone. Oh my God! And it's just something about the artist that recreates it and think of more things to do with it. It's not going well. We get back to putting these flags out again. We get back to houses is a life. It's creative. It's not going nowhere.
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point. We all have very personal connections to the music. We know when we discovered it, we know where we were. The songs bring up memories of our teenage years and young adult years. And as I think about people like my children, my teenagers, and I don't see the same connections that they have. I always tease them, they don't know how to party. You know, everybody sits on the wall and, you know, everybody's kind of mean mugging. So that spirit that we grew up in, uh, that kind of community where we had a space, young people had a space to come, enjoy the music, and to connect with other young people. I went to Catholic school in Oak Lawn and had friends all over the city because of the music. Our kids don't have that now. And what I think about is, in addition to providing a safe space for young people, for DJs, producers, and artists, the music also took them off the streets. Chef Michael, can you kind of expound on your own experiences and how house music kind of brought you into a more positive place, and how we can, as the adults now, encourage our children and encourage other children in the community to do the same, to bring them out of negative spaces into, you know, these positive spaces where there's music and art and education kind of all wrapped into one in a fun way.
So of course I love talking. I'm gonna make it quick. Um, Paul Johnson, rest his soul. That's I'm still coping with that. Um, we was best friends as kids when he can walk. I'm from 90th and Aberdeen. Paul from May, Ed Martin, the next block, Racine, Robert Armani on the other side. What saved my life and what gave me hope was so in the early, I think it was like was about the early 80s when that crack hit the scene and kind of took some of our parents. My mom was one of those parents. Um, when I look back, when we finally got out the projects, my grandmother actually came and got us. 'Cause I think back then, Big Mama was the ones that was taking care of the kids. Your parents, yeah, they were doing their thing, but they always threw us to the grandmas and the granddads. But when I moved from Audio Gardens and got to 90th and Aberdeen, that's when the breakdancing era came. Egyptian Love and all that good stuff. We literally thought, well, Egyptian Love was like more like a house track to us. So it gave me, and the thing was, it gave me this. I think that's when I was bit by that bug back then to change my life when I ran into Paul. Because we battled Paul in breakdancing. Paul always used to try to get up on the equipment like and try to scratch. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm looking at him like, but he would try to scratch. So it kind of changed some things in our mind. But me, out of the group, I wanted to know what selling drugs was because my mind was more not selling drugs to get these houses or cars. It was giving me more of if I can sell some drugs, I can do more for the neighborhood. Because at 8 years old, I didn't get a life due to the crack epidemic and different things like that. But it made me think of a lot of things in life. And then when I went back, when Paul passed away, I sat at home with my wife. I had my whole inside reversed, and I started figuring out what saved me and what can we do to save the next generation. And I still to this day, I'm still a little bit confused because when I finally got away from the drug selling and the gang banging and different things like that, I told my wife, I'm what is it that God He have for me? Because why am I still here? Why am I still here? And I didn't have no one to teach me because the dad wasn't there to teach me to be a man. I taught myself, and I had an older brother. He just recently passed away, but and the older brother, I would think he would teach me how to become a man to do the things, but everybody, if I'm not mistaken, y'all remember the stereo systems that they had in the house back in the day? They had the 45 on top with the little cap that go on the top. I literally taught myself how to DJ on one of those. My mom used to make me play music to her guests in the house with the 45. So I was a DJ playing 45s in an 8-track, which, Lord, I mean, it's so much that we can do if we, like this panel here, we need many panels. We need to really talk to the young generation. We may not get them all, but we're going to get some because we need to show them what it was to go to Mendo. I'll never forget, I told my wife, I said, babe, I love you. We married. I got to tell you this. I used to cut class at Calumet High School to go to Longwood Academy to dance with Lil Lewis when he came in town and he had just brought out French Kiss. You had to be there. And I used to go up there, oh my God, we stand out on a corner. I'm talking about they'd get out of school, they wear their little dress, they go home, change. We stayed till they got back. Went in there and the best parties in the world taught us as kids. We want to be a part of this. We want to, from the days of Jack Your Body with Steve Shirley at the Lou Rotary when he came there, oh my God, we thought he was Michael Jackson. These are things that people need to know. Every house is not one person. Houses is everybody. Everybody got so many stories that need to come out to these kids to see what it's about because we got generations gonna change. Generations are going to change. You can't stay in the past. You got to build a future. But we can bring, if you go back to the days when I first met Frankie Knuckles and Ron Hardy, I met Ron Hardy on mistake. which he ended up letting Paul DJ at the club. And we was kids. And we literally, Paul opened up for Ron Hardy. I'm in there crying because I couldn't believe it that he was opening up for Ron Hardy. If you've ever been to a Ron Hardy party, oh my God. Now, the blends and stuff, the blends was all over the place, but when he threw that blend in, you wanted to jump through the wall. So, I mean, we just need to come together and stop being distant from each other and travel and get the city back open to New York and traveling everywhere and bring because house music started here.
You know, as we kind of discuss the impact it has on the youth, Alicia, I'm going to ask you, because in addition to, you know, being a DJ, you've mentored even before creating Legacy Arts, even before creating Legacy, you've mentored other lady DJs, other female DJs coming up. What are some of the things, can you speak to the importance of mentorship as it relates to continuing and preserving the house music culture?
Mentorship is very important because you need to have someone that you can talk to about your experiences, that have already been through those experiences and can kind of help you maneuver the landmines, because there are a lot of landmines. So when the ladies get together, we have a certain set of things that we talk about that we have to deal with. But also having male mentors who are not easy on you, who are going to give you the absolute truth, who are going to tell you. I had one of my male mentors tell me, take your emotions out of your business. So I had to learn that there's a business side to things, and there's a networking side to things, and there's a building relationship side to things. It's not just DJing. A lot of people can DJ, but a lot of people are not successful because of the way they handle their relationships, because of the way they treat people. One of the first female DJs that reached out to me was Lady D, and she was somebody that I had been watching, Lady D and Lord Branch, because I appreciated the way that they carried themselves. They were always so professional. They're personable. You know, you can sit down and have a conversation with either one of them, but they were always so no nonsense professional when it came to their career. But they weren't arrogant. They weren't, they came in there, they did the party, they had a good time, they spoke to everybody that was there, but they kind of had an air about them and a professionalism about them where you're like, these ladies right here, right. So I started watching them when I came to the house music scene. I started watching them in particular and so they were like distant mentors. They didn't even know they were mentoring me and molding me into what I am. But Lady D reached out one day, and we really didn't have a relationship yet. And she was like, hey, I'm having a birthday party. Come do my birthday party. And I was outdone because I'm like, all the people she could have do her birthday party. She reached out to me. And then there's also that South Side, North Side, expectation that you play this or whatever. She ain't never cared nothing about that. She was just like, come on, girl, and play your music. So I'm kind of paying it forward from what was given to me to receptive ears. And you have to know, I don't have a problem struggling to reach somebody, but I'm not going to struggle too hard because there are 100 other girls that are willing and ready to put the work in, to listen to you, to not have an attitude when you try to give them constructive criticism, and to move forward. And it's difficult in our profession because we get a lot of love from people. You have to remember that DJing is a service. You are providing a service to the people that come to the party. A lot of DJs have it the other way around where they're like, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and the people are coming to. No, not really. You are there to do a good job for the people that you are playing for. So if you come in there and you play a set full of records that you think, are fantastic and the dance floor is empty, you haven't really provided the service that you were paid to provide. It's nice to look at you up there playing records, but so it's you need to take ego out of it, you need to take arrogance out of it, and you need to remember that you're hired because you DJ a party and two people met and they get married. Me and Vince was just talking about that. They met at Vince's party. They fell in love and they got married because of you know what I mean, the atmosphere of the party. It was love. It was, you felt comfortable in meeting somebody and having a good time. You weren't just sitting over there and me mugging that person over there or whatever. So I'm trying to pay forward everything I can. Terry Hunter says, "Die empty." So I'm trying to give everything I can. So when I take my last breath, I can be proud of the legacy that I created.
Vince, I want to talk to you as kind of we look forward. So one of the things that happened during this pandemic is we had to see DJs, artists, and creatives think outside the box in new ways that they have not done before. And you were one of the artists that were able to not only continue your brand, but elevate it and take it to a new level. As we talk about continuing the culture and pushing it forward, can you speak about the importance of taking the music out the club and into corporate spaces and into other spaces that actually increase visibility, not just for you as the artist, but for the music?
So I'll kind of start at the end, which is when people say, well, when things open back up, like, what are you going to do? And the end is that not everybody was in the club to begin with. So if we really think about it, probably in life, 7 to 12%, and of course I'm pulling these numbers out of the air, 7 to 12% of the population parties. So that means that most people are not at the party. So if you can take the party, if you can take the event, if you can take the occasion to where people are, you actually have an opportunity to reach more people. And then when things, quote unquote, open back up, the 7 to 12% that were going out, they go back out. But then the 90% that wasn't going out, you now created a new audience, a new virtual venue, if you will. So kind of starting there from the end, I understood a few things in March of 2020. One, this was not about to be a 4 to 6 week thing. Like, there was a lot of speculation as to what COVID was going to do. I was like, summer's over. I was like, start planning right now that at least the next 6 months are a wrap. So I had that understanding at that point and had no desire to DJ virtually at all. My mom even gave me a call and she said, why don't you entertain us? I was like, unless there's a check involved, I don't really do that. I'm just being quite honest. I haven't had equipment set up in my house since 2004. So this is now 2020. I'm like, if I don't go out to where the decks are, it's just not going to happen. But to be quite honest as well, I saw D Nice. And what I saw was the emotional levity that it created. That's what I saw from the D Nice event, not the 160,000 people on that Saturday and not the, Michelle Obama, Oprah, Janet Jackson. I didn't see that. I saw that people were in an emotional, heavy place and that this created a certain amount of levity that was very needed at that time. However, unless you were an A or B list celebrity, you were probably not going to be recognized at the D Nice party. And I said, I think I have the ability to reach people. But if you went to Longwood, I can make this your party. If you went to Tuskegee, University of Tuskegee, or if you went to Spelman College, I could make this your party. And I understood how people needed to be spoken to in that moment because we were all separated. And taking the concept that D-Nice had and then bringing it into each individual's home, where if I said, where's the south side of Chicago, somebody felt that they were being spoken to in this emotionally uncertain time. Where's everybody in Texas, born in Chicago, which is a whole lot of folks in Houston, Dallas, and other parts of Texas. I understood that there was an opportunity to create this virtual connection among people. So now I'm kind of projecting that to 2022 and beyond. For those who don't know, as Danny shared, I was able to create a series of virtual events for not only myself, not only attendees, but also organizations, companies, and create it where anyone from the comfort of their home, or if they wanted to take their laptop or iPad to a friend's house and create kind of like a cell party where you have multiple cells that are happening at the same time, but everyone's partying or listening to the same thing. I then understood that this is the future of the world. Kind of think about your social organization meetings or your church meetings now that used to be in person in 2019 that went virtual, quote unquote, Zoom in 2020, 2021. They ain't going back to in person now. Those social meetings that you had for those clubs and organizations, everybody's like, well, why don't we just keep this on Zoom? That's what I understood about being able to now create opportunities for organizations and companies that are not in the same geographic region. So if you're an organization from the south suburbs of Chicago, maybe you go back to in person. But if you're the American Black cardiologist who I DJ'd for, well, you got cardiologists in San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Atlanta. They're like, hey, we're kind of busy now. And it kind of makes sense for us to get together virtually for 4 hours and have a virtual awards ceremony as opposed to now book hotels and blocks of rooms and the other things that we used to do. So taking it to now the future and how this relates to house music is the world's music. If you go to Germany, if you go to Italy, if you go to South Africa, if you go to Argentina, house music is a common thread throughout the entire world. So if you have a sound, if you have the pulse of a certain type of sound, now you can take that sound to companies. And if that's an international company, they might not all like hip hop, they might not all like country, but the 122 beat per minute, 125 beat per minute energy is a worldwide energy. So now that we understand how can we keep this going outside, well, now that people have become used to a virtual existence, it's not that everyone won't fellowship and hug and be in person for certain commemorative events like weddings and birthday parties, but maybe not your 53rd birthday. Your 53rd birthday, it may be, hey, let's just all hop on a Zoom for 90 minutes while you're in California, you're in Kentucky, you're here, and let's party together like we used to for that party. Or if it's Derek, he can't be a day over 55, so I'm going to say for his 42nd birthday. But my point, moreover, is that every birthday is not a commemorative year. Same thing with companies. I got a call from SAP, which we know is an international company, and they said, hey, we're having a special Black History event, and we want for music to be at the forefront of that, but SAP is not a predominantly Black company. Well, they saw my 10,000 Steps house music party that I do virtual, and they said, how can we have a virtual event based on dance music, the universal term now that is socially accepted by any organization? Can we do a dance music party similar to what you do, but now targeted to our international organization? So that's just an example of understanding, one, virtual is not going anywhere. Two, house music / dance music is the world's music. There are different applications for how we can take this virtual dynamic that we're not ever going back away from, and the fact that house music will never go anywhere. This has lots of different applications in a lot of different places that each person and each brand has the ability to kind of cultivate, make their own, and adopt and adapt in this new world that we're in.
Thank you, Vince. I love that. That's perfectly true. I want to talk about house music, dance music, and philanthropy. You've done it through your through working with the homeless. You've done it with your organization. What is the importance? I know there's the quote that says, "You can't be what you can't see." What is the importance of bridging that philanthropy along with the love of the music? How do you guys do that?
Well, for myself, just before the pandemic came, I wanted to try something different. I was running a battle wife. So every year we have Taste for the Homeless Summerfest and Winterfest. So when the doctors came up here, my mind has always been about themes. And so I ran the battle wife and I said, so this year's her term. We did a thing where we brought Farley out to Dalton Park. So we brought house music to the homeless. So what we do every year is through one of our partners, which is Chance the Rapper, Social Works. We bus in all of the less fortunate from all of the shelters in Chicago and surrounding suburbs. And just because you're homeless don't mean you're a househead. And I tried something before I brought Farley. Brought Byron Stingley to perform on the stage for the less fortunate and Teresa Griffin. Amazing. I took the video and I said, wow, just because you're homeless don't mean you can't listen or dance to house music. It clicked in. I said, I'm gonna keep this going. So I brought Farley out. When I say it was amazing, it was so amazing that the less fortunate started crying. They all piled up to the stage, and that's when the feelings started coming out, and they were screaming. Before I lost my job, I used to go to the Children's picnic. I used to do this, I used to do that. No, you're still doing it. And it touched my heart to see so many people, because we try to pack, we get 3,000 to 4,000 people in the park. And I just wanted to touch them in a way I was touched when I was young. And it came out of me. And my mind just started rolling. So we came up with these themes like Candyland. We had take the whole park. That's the wife new thing we use. We're gonna take the whole park and we're gonna relive Candyland. You're gonna have vendors all over the park giving out candy, different foods, different things. So it's how can I say it? Because I'm a very emotional person when it comes to less fortunate. I'm very emotional because it's no fame thing for me. It's no being on cameras or the news channels. It's me looking at you as a human being and saying, you can do this. You can beat the drug addiction, the alcohol, whatever you're going through. And if me listening to house music is for me, it can do it for you. Because and I know I'm kind of behind because I kind of backed away, not producing music, because when I ain't probably produced my last track about 15 years ago. It was on a track out of France on Flat Lux. But I'm back because the wife just bought me some equipment, and I got a new beat machine, and I got a new studio, and so I'm working on my new album. And so I was just thinking when she just brought this up, they hit a spot because we're back full force with Taste for the Homeless. Summerfest, which is coming up in June, and I want to always incorporate house. It have to be incorporated in there, um, doing that work. Whether me bringing out, because we're gonna add some of the house producers and DJs to come out and help us feed the people. And once we get back, because I'm gonna go back into this when because I know she's gonna probably bring it up about how Taste for the Homeless started and where it came from, what was the mission, and always to keep that touch of house music in there. Because if you guys know, it's a long story. I know y'all know the story about the Farley Jack Master Funk and the Steve Gurley situation and all that. But I had literally, and it wasn't planned, but when I brought Farley out, if y'all know Skip is with Pushback, which was part of SNS, Steve Curley. I ended up inviting both of them out, not knowing that they was gonna come together. They bumped right into each other, and the love was so pure. It was so pure, and the house music and the love and it showed everybody something. It was, and I actually recorded it and kept keeping that for some history. And the singing when Farley just brought out the singing the house music to the crowd. He sung "Love Can Turn Around," laughed to the less fortunate. It was amazing. It was just something that still gets me today. But the philanthropy part of it was everybody, even from the house DJs and producers, we still have to remember our people and the things we need to do with that music. Because that music is touching people, whether you think so or not. Maybe you ain't got pat on the back. I don't know. But we listen. This is my first time meeting Alicia. But but so many amazing stories. I knew the day had come. Vince, so many amazing stories. I never got a chance to meet him. So I'm honored, like even to be invited to sit here. I put in a little work. I put out some EPs. I got some good recognition, but I never put in like the way y'all put in. And it's so amazing to see that work y'all put and keep the flow going. It's just so ironic. Yes.
Alicia, can you speak to the importance of younger generations being able to see panels like this, people like this, in this music, in this genre, achieving success, not just locally or nationally, but internationally as well?
So, first off, I want to start by saying I love that every sentence he says starts with, I ran it by my wife. I love that. That's teamwork. That is team. That's how it's supposed to be right there. That is teamwork. They are coming together, working on things together. Two genuine people who care about community have come together, and you can accomplish so many things when you got that kind of support behind you on both sides. Um, um, seeing people successful. Um, Me and Danny talk about that all the time. We talk about the struggles that we had to go through. Like right now, I'm sitting on the stage as DJ Alicia, and Danny sitting on the stage as the editor at the Defender magazine. Wasn't always that way. We went through some tough times together. We shared the same piece of toast. It was it was tough. But we never gave up. We never gave up. And I think that, like he said, it's a reason why certain people are put in certain positions. When I first started, I spun Steppers music for 16 years. I had some great mentors, and Herb Kent, rest his soul, and Sam Chapman, Steve Breeze. I did that. I loved the music, and it was from me having to play my mom's 45s. So at 26 years old, I was playing doo-wops and dusties for the steppers, and they was trying to figure out why this little girl was playing these dusties. So I stopped spinning for a little while, and I came back to house music, and I was taken. You know, I listened to, of course, I listened to BMX, I listened to Farley and all the High Mix 5 and all that, KKC, I listened to that, and MV60 even. It was a channel on TV, all music, all the time. That was my station. Um, but it didn't really take me, snatch my soul until like 2010. Um, I went to a party and the little guy walked in and he was bopping past me with his little cane go on. And I was like, who's this guy? You know, I don't know him. He got up there and he played Donna Summer, I Feel Love. And I think it was like the Blues Brothers. Y'all remember the Blues Brothers when he was in church? So the little guy turned out to be Jamie 326. I saw the light, so so I jumped into it. I was like, I want to do this because I had been to like lounges and other stuff like that, and the people was just dancing and everything. But this place was dark and it was fog and it was lights and shrieks in the darkness. I was like, I want to do this right here. So when I got into it and I started listening to the music on a different level, I actually went and talked to Kirk Townsend about a non-for-profit. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get a group of DJs together and just do parties like at hospitals and stuff like that, for people in distress. And Kirk was like, well, let me know. Like, he has always been open from the first moment. So, after 8 years of trying to get it together and figure out like what I wanted to pinpoint, and which I'm gonna have to reconfigure now after COVID, everything's different now. I wanted to place myself in a position where I was, so many things have happened over the past year. We got a female vice president. We got the Supreme Court justice. We got the girls need to see what's possible. So they'll know that you move toward a goal and you can achieve it. So at this point in time, I'm trying to gather together the girls so they can see things on a different level. Me and Danielle actually talked earlier about starting to do stuff like this with panel discussions with females that they can look up to, where we can make it kind of fun, but they can have exposure to, because you can't, there's one person, you can't do it all, but you definitely can network with people. You definitely can get other people involved to make a change and make a difference. Also with young girls, is I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's social media or if it's the images that they feeding us on social media, but it's almost scary. It's almost like we losing our young girls. They don't really highlight like the phenomenal things that girls are doing. We click on Facebook, we see somebody twerking on top of a car, or it's almost like they're trying to tear us down. So at this point, I think it's imperative that we create spaces where younger kids in general, not even girls, kids can see positive role models and touch them and talk to them and have a connection with them so that they have people they can look up to and ask questions and get direction from. Anybody you meet in this room can give you some direction about something. You can't walk with anybody that you talk to in this room has knowledge that you do not have. So you need to gain all that knowledge and become what you can do. And I'm trying to get these girls together, so that they can see that the only thing stopping them is pretty much self-doubt, and try to smooth the path to make it easier for them to get to where it is they're trying to go.
I I know for me, like I always tell people, I'm considered a baby in this scene because I missed all the 80s. I was in high school. The club was my bedroom, and the radio, that was my club. But when I did get involved, I remember wanting to soak up so much information. I wanted to know what happened in the 80s. I wanted to know what the clubs were like. And I sought out whatever I could. And there would be documentaries and, little radio shows or a podcast here and there that would talk about this time in the 80s. As I've come through this scene, what I've realized, particularly in the Chicago dance scene, it didn't stop there. It has continued to grow and evolve over all of these different levels, from expanding into corporate places, international tours. Our DJs are representing at the Grammys, as producers. The nightclub scene, is still very much a thing here. And as a journalist, one of the things I value most is telling our stories and documenting our history. And I need to ask you guys, and I'd like everybody to respond if possible, how do we preserve that? How do we continue to document the history that's happening right now with our scene, with our culture, and protect it from being miscategorized or having that story told from someone else's narrative? How do we, as artists, as participants in this scene, as DJs, how do we protect and document our history and culture? So Vince, can you speak to that? And we'll kind of go around. I picked you out first.
Well, we start by leading, and that's what you did. You have a podcast and a video podcast, and Big Brother D Lot, Derek and Dewey, Conversations in House. Did I get it right? And then we've got, Lori, what Lori Branch has been doing. And I actually was sitting around one day, and it just occurred to me, this was maybe about 4 weeks into COVID, where I said, and Sheffield like this, Steve Hurley has been a big brother to me for many, many years. Some years he didn't know he was my big brother. So I go to Whitney Young and, he decides he wants to hang out at, Whitney Young. This is Steve, wants to hang out at Whitney Young. He went to Lynn Bloom, but the prettiest girls were at Whitney Young, right, Darlene? So, he was like, hey, I'm coming to Whitney Young to hang out. And then I'm like, is that Steve Hurley shooting ball at Whitney Young? So this was when I was in high school, but through the years, we developed a relationship and actually became quite close. And I used to say, Steve, we need to go out and have lunch and have conversations about, the scene back in the day when you were, my big brother idol and didn't know who I was. Now we're good friends. We need to just sit down and break bread and just talk about how things were. And I had a thought, and I was like, you know what? The world needs this conversation right now. And this was April of 2020. I said, you know what? I think we're going to start a podcast and have conversations with all of these great guys that I've got these great relationships with. But now all of us are stuck at home. Folks are going to watch this. It was like, and so Steve Hurley was my first guest on my show that I had, Voices of House Music, at this time. So I think that people, really taking advantage, and that's not, it has a negative connotation, but taking advantage is just however you want to apply it. But many of us have great relationships, and taking advantage of those relationships, meaning that, you just seize the moment. And it was great for me to have conversations with Steve and then have Farley come on and talk about Steve and, all the different things that happened, during that point. Someone else who needs to be chronicled is Dwayne Powell, because Dwayne and our history goes back. Without Dwayne, there would be no me to some extent. And here's what I mean by that is I've always had these forward-thinking thoughts of, like, what can I do that's different? And I knew back in 1998 that there were DJs who were mixtape DJs, and then there were DJs who were house DJs. And some DJs would put their, mixes on cassettes, some would put theirs on CD. I said, I want to be the first DJ with a mixed CD for hip hop and a mix CD for house music. This is 98. Folks didn't have a CD burner. Like, we have to remember, this is pre, like, iPod days, where like the CD burner was like a 1X or a 2X. Like, it took you 74 minutes to burn a 74-minute CD as opposed to 16X and everything that came. But Dr. Wax and Dwayne pushed more of these CDs around the world. Like, if people were in Chicago for some reason and they were like, what can I get? They were like, well, there's this Vince Adams CD. And then it just kind of grew from there. And, Dwayne was the go-to person in the city. Dwayne and Oscar McMillan, I would say, they were like the go-to guys. If you needed to know like what was new and progressive, Dwayne was that guy on the South Side that you had to talk to. So I shared that story about my relationship or what happened with Dwayne is to a great extent. Like you said, a lot of us, Alicia was just saying, a lot of us have, capital, knowledge capital, and being able to then have that capital connected with the relationships. That's how the stories get told. That's how the documenting happens. That's how, the history is preserved. So I think those things, telling our story, telling the stories of the people that we're with, connecting, with the people to say, hey, can I tell your story? We all have to take that lead as you did. And, definitely it's been a blessing for me. I'm still uploading those podcasts on Spotify, but they're all available if anyone wants to see the library, because there were quite a few. Darlene was featured on the show as well. It was called Voices in House Music, is called Voices of House Music, and it's on Facebook, and all of those very long interviews with Terry and so many people are there and documented. So that's a part of it, having the knowledge capital, sharing, and then exploiting those relationships. And exploiting and manipulation are not negative words. They are just words. It's how we use them. So we need to exploit things. We need to manipulate. And manipulate can be, hey, I have something great that I can share with you, and here's what we can do together. And that, it just has a negative connotation. But if we can take, these things that we have access to and take them to the next level, I think that's where it all grows. And then it becomes history for people to know where we came from.
So when I decided that I wanted to transition from steppers and being a mobile jock to strictly house music, first thing that I did as well, Danielle, is that I wanted to learn about the history, the stuff that I missed. Kimmy Disco was like, I got a video I need you to watch. And I'm like, okay, so she sent me this YouTube video, and it was like a 7-part history of house music. And I was watching it and I was excited, and I just saw Andre Hatchett. I'm like, hey, I was just sitting next to him in the club. I didn't know who Andre Hatchett was. And I was sitting next to him talking to him in the club. He was just a nice man that was talking to me at the club. I didn't know any of this, right? So he was talking about the history, and Craig Loftus, and I got to about episode 3, and then they were like, and then house music went overseas. And then it was like 4 other parts about overseas house music. Like, we stopped. It was like, we not playing house music no more. We just gave it to them. It's not here anymore. So that question came up in my mind, like, what, because I'm at Reynolds on Tuesday. I'm at the Shrine on Sundays. I'm at where's all this documentation and everything at? So I'm glad now that we do have, and when I wanted to see documentation of Ron or Frankie or what, there was nothing I could find where I could watch like an actual set or an actual party of these great DJs that pioneered this, that I could get that experience. It's like, if you weren't there, you weren't there. You didn't get it, you missed it. So people used to complain at first when people had their cell phones and they taking pictures and movies and everything at the party. But I think that's actually a good thing, because down the line, when we need to see this documentation or what it was like to be at a party where Lady D spun or Viv spun, or we actually can see all this information on Facebook or YouTube, or it's readily available. You can Google one of us and see a set that we did. So
I think I'm glad with those innovations that now things are more accessible where you can see stuff and document stuff.
Once again, I love talking. She just said something off. I was in the hallway telling him I have some artifacts that'll blow your mind. Cause I like to keep stuff. I have my first turntables. I have the turntable that me, Paul, and Rob DJ'd on. I still have that realistic mixer. I have a tub in my garage. I have Paul headphones. I have a lot of stuff, which takes me back to this. And maybe I'm behind. Maybe y'all could correct me. But where is the museum? Where is the real house music museum in Chicago? We don't have one. If we got Shed Aquarium, we got all this. If we had a museum of actual, not no go rent a building, an actual house music museum with all this history in it, because I got a friend right now in Markham who still got every plugger on his wall from back from Bismarck days that need to be in the museum. You know how many of us have artifacts that need to be, okay, like Egyptian? We need to, where's the museum? Like, can somebody tell me, am I lost or am I crazy? Where is the house? We built this. Chicago built this. You know how many, not just tourists, would come from all over the world to come to our museum to literally see him standing there? He's here. He's here now. Do we gotta wait till he leaves? He's here. I know friends who still got that reel to reel, who used to splice it up and make those baddest mixes in the world. But we need a museum, a real museum. Maybe somebody can put it together.
I'm gonna co-sign that, and I think that issue really relates to Black music, especially Black music created here in Chicago. I am the granddaughter of jazz musicians who performed at the Apollo and Club de Lisa, and we have a ton of artifacts at our house and have searched actively to get original recordings that, because they were in somebody's house when that person died, it went somewhere and we found things on eBay. So the idea, and I'm going to be honest with you, in my search to learn more about my grandparents' history, I found people who had foundations in my grandparents' name that didn't look like me, that were from universities and had whole foundations. You can Google it now, that had my entire family history and my family's musical discography, and had my family's home address on the website, even though my family is still in that home to this day. So I think you bring up a great point about creating this ecosystem that allows us, or people like you that have this information. Like Alicia and I said, we were looking to find out what happened. And I'm thinking about my kids. If they ever wanted to know, my mama was always, so enthusiastic about this event and this event, where would they go to find information about it? So I think you bring up a valid point, and I think that's one of the things that is the purpose of today, where they're asking people to bring your artifacts, bring your memorabilia, to create a space and a some sort of archive that we do have, if I'm correct. And I think if we expound on that and really kind of get the community and people like us who have enjoyed, I don't know about you, I saved every plugger from the time I was able to go to a party, but I am one of those people like you that I could say late 90s, early 2000s. So I think you bring up a valid point. And I think organizations like this one today are really helping to contribute to the archival process. So I want to open it up. I want to thank our panel for answering my questions, but I wanted to open it up to anyone in our audience who has questions for our panel. Dwayne, our historian.
Actually, wasn't a question. Well, one is a compliment. I want to compliment Alicia. One of the things that I really, really admire about her is her willingness to share, information. So many people hold like they don't want you to know who booked them to keep the booking for themselves, but they don't want you to know the photographer you use for your photo shoot. And Alicia's always willing to share her information with the next person so that everybody can look good. So I really appreciate that about you, Alicia.
I am a direct recipient of that sharing.
I just want to talk more about
it's-
the actual 10,000 steps, like what made you incorporate fitness, because that's one of the things we wanted to touch on is that impact of health and everything else in terms of taking care of us.
Okay, so those who didn't hear you, we want to talk about Vince and your inspiration to combine the love of the music along with getting people moving and speaking more about our health. Can you speak to that?
So there's a platform called Twitch. So Twitch is kind of the Amazon, version of what YouTube is to Google. So yeah, I mean, so it's owned by Amazon. It essentially does the same thing that YouTube does, but a lot of people have never heard of it before. So one of the things about Twitch is that it's one of the few platforms that allows DJs to play music live that is not then cut off. So we've, at this point now in this virtual space, know about the YouTube cutoffs or the Facebook cutoffs or Instagram. You can play music on Twitch, which I found through Big Brother Alan King was the first person that was like, I'm packing my bags and going over to Twitch. And I think everybody just kind of migrated behind Alan at some point after the cutoffs. So I share that story to say that this is the platform publicly that my 10,000 Steps House Music Party plays on. But that's the reason is because it is something that is international and can be played without interruption. It's a 3-hour nonstop party on a Sunday. I had an idea, and this Sunday was October of 2020. So remember, we're still pretty thick in the COVID. A lot of things aren't open. A lot of people have put their gym memberships on hold or canceled them, put on COVID weight. A lot of people emotionally stressed. And I said, I want to create a non-judgment zone that people are given a soundtrack to do whatever they want to do. So if they want to sit on the back porch and smoke a cigar and drink some Woodford, or if they want to get on their Peloton, they don't have anybody to tell them go faster or here comes a hill. If they want to, dance, they can dance. But I just want to create a 3-hour period where people are encouraged to leave everything behind. However, you will get rewarded for getting 10,000 steps, which we all have been introduced to that concept from a Fitbit. A lot of us have Galaxy watches or Apple watches now, but we know the concept of getting 10,000 steps a day is a good, healthy habit. So I said, I want to reward the people that get 10,000 steps with a copy of the mix that's being recorded during the event. Also, I want to create a camera where you can bring people in from across the world and they can see what each other are doing for their fitness goals. The only way you can join the camera, though, is if you're doing something that's fitness oriented. So here's the importance of this. One, a lot of people are depressed. Two, people need entertainment. So if you're creating these people that one person is, on a unicycle, of course I'm just making this up, another person is on a bobsled. My point is that Zumba, everyone has to do the same thing. Peloton classes, everyone has to do the same thing. I wanted to create the soundtrack by which a person can do whatever they want to do. One of those people is actually in the back of the room, Nate Franklin. used to take us on a walk. I still to this day don't know how he did it, because you would need two devices. I don't know if he had like his sister's phone or he's got his burner phone or whatever it was, but he would actually show us his walk as he was walking through his neighborhood. And then I get his numbers back because I have to actually get the metrics in order to send people the mix. This brother has walked 40,000 steps for a 10,000 step party, but you get the C part of that walk. Then other people start to find out about it, and now people hula hoop, people are skating, people are on their, stationary bikes. Like, it's actually created a community where you got Coleman Love sending in 20,000, Sharice Coleman, who's in the back, sending in 20,000 steps. You have Phil Seed, who's Kim Seed's husband, who is a very popular musician right here in the Chicagoland area, sending in over 25,000 steps. Here's the significance of this. And the reason I'm telling the story from this standpoint is it's actually created an international fitness community, unlike anything else on the planet, that everyone can access from the comfort of their home for free on a Wednesday night. The power of that is that that community now has grown to what we call Team 1 Million Steps, where people actually now cumulatively send in over 1 million steps on the mix. They get the mix, but now they also get recognized on the screen for this achievement. And on top of that, we're now giving away $150 a week to 50 people win, or 3 people win $50. So it's $150 total to 3 different people randomly. So this entire concept has now become an international collective where over 1,000 people every Wednesday get together for a house music party based on fitness. So I wanted to share that in full because it's only beginning. I think that this is something that has legs. Anyone in here, there's no obligation to work out. Should you want to come and join us on Wednesday nights, it's on twitch.tv/my name, DJ Vince Adams. But the fun part has actually been to see these metrics. This has become a social experiment as well, because now I have over a year and a half's worth of data to see that people who used to get 10,000 steps now get 20,000 steps. People who used to get 15,000 steps now get 40,000 steps. The power behind that is this party has become a catalyst to people telling me, I've lost 30 pounds. I've lost 25 pounds. I was dealing with some serious depression. And this event has created an entirely different lifestyle for me. So I wanted to share that in full because we have family members. We have people that we know that aren't in Chicago who can benefit from this community as well. So Dwayne, thank you so much for inviting me and also asking about the party. Is something I'm super proud of. And every Wednesday I'm in town, we're partying on Wednesday nights.
I think that's a perfect example of how we expand the culture. House music, the dance community has always been about community. Indifferent whether it's at a party, at a lounge, it has brought people together with the common, like, we all love house music. So to expand it into, not only are you going to enjoy the music, you're going to lose weight, feel better about yourself emotionally and physically. That's a perfect example of how we expand the culture as we move forward. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I guess my question is, I don't know if I answered this, but where do you think, like, you have all of the chosen few, a lot of you yourselves are DJs, where do you all see the yourselves in helping curate the young generation to become something like yourselves? You get what I mean? If you get what I mean.
How do we bring the younger generation into house music and this culture?
And like, what do you think your role would be, and how would you play that role and try to get them on board?
Y'all got that? Okay.
Well, first let me start by saying I kidnapped that young man at at Andre Hatch's birthday party. He just happened to be in my vicinity, and we started talking about music and philanthropy and goals. And I was at a party, so I was drinking tequila. So we just had a fabulous time. And he was like, "I'm gonna give you my card, and we'll talk tomorrow." And he has been on it. He came out yesterday. Like, so he's one of those people that I was telling you about. Like, when they say that this is what they want to do and this is how they want to move forward, he actually stood on what he said. So I don't have any problem giving him all the time he needs, all the resources he needs, all the everything he needs in order to get to where he's going, um, as long as he's receptive. So to answer your question, if we can find receptive young adults who are willing to learn, um, while also respecting the history of it, um, because young people they're in the here and now, so they got a lot of information that could move us forward. Um, but we just need people like you. Once we mentor people like you to be the catalyst to bring more and gain more interest. We got like J Star, who I also love to death. Um, he's a perfect example of moving us forward from the younger generation. I have to ask him sometimes, how are you again? Because he's so mature and he's so poised and he's so right, knowledgeable and professional. So I think as long as we keep corralling in, young people like that, then we'll continue to expand.
I think it's also on the flip, it's about accessibility. He was able to come to you, talk to you, get information, and you were receptive, and saying it wasn't like I want to hold this and you just don't know anything about that because you weren't around and so you know what I mean? So I think it's kind of a two-way street. It's accessibility. Younger generations have to know that they can come to events Adams, they can come to a DJ Alicia, they can come to your event and find out if they want to know, and that our generation is receptive to actually share the information, not just tell them what to do, but to provide a pathway and a roadmap, if you will, to get them involved. Yes.
My name is Ava, and I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but I'm a teacher, and I was talking to the doctors, and I literally said to them, could you please make a book for teenagers like the ones that you call a roadmap to better days, like the how do you make an app called 10,000 Steps? What's the first step? Because I talk to young people all the time, and it's not that they're not receptive, it's exactly what you just said. They encounter older folks who are not receptive to them, who don't like holding it like it's a secret, and it's if you weren't there, that's it. And then the second part is not willing to say, how do you make something out of nothing? Because I'm in a situation of nothing right now, and there's no venue, there's no club, there's no, if they have access to internet, I'm just being honest, because I've been teaching for like 2 decades, right? So that, I think, I'm just asking if you do something like that, or if you have something that I could share, that we can share with younger people, that's a start of, how do I get to a DJ Alicia event? I heard about 10,000 Steps, and I was like, that's fantastic. Young people who love that because they're so tuned into social media and their phones and what have you. That you can create a whole new, if it doesn't exist already, a whole new sub community of people under 18, please. And then just thinking, what's that roadmap to get to you? How did you get there? What was the first thing you did? What was the second thing you did like that? So I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think that's kind of a layered question, because so many had so many different different roads to get to the same place. But I think, contacting Alicia through her organization, contacting Vince through their organization is a great way to get started. But I do think part of the beauty of things like this is hearing these stories as a starting point where you can find, women can look to a DJ Alicia, a Lady D to find out this is what they dealt with. Oh, this is how Vince created a space and an avenue for something innovative and different. Oh, this is how I combine my love of music with philanthropy and something else that I'm passionate about. I think having more things like this, contacting these organizations that are bringing these artists together, and sharing that information. I think that's the biggest hurdle as a community that we have. We don't share, and it's in our cultural tradition to pass things down. And I don't know if we have done enough of that, our generation. As a journalist, I've heard young journalists feel like they don't get mentorship because we're too busy. I'm too busy trying to climb my ladder. So I think all of us across the board as a culture need to be more conscious of reaching back. It's in our history. It's in our cultural history. Would you guys agree? Yeah. I hope that's a starting point. Anybody else? Yes.
I can go all day. Stop because I like to talk to. I guess it's more of a comment for me because I'm not gonna stop, right? This house music thing, me being who I am and me growing up around it and having my auntie and having, all of my family members, be so deep in the house world, it brought me to say, you know what, I'm gonna continue this journey because I want to be a part of it, right? Even though right now I just put on Facebook that the community is small and I love it, but it's not really. It's really, really, really super huge because it's in every country, it's in every city, it's everywhere. So, if anybody wants to network with me, like I'm trying to help build that museum. I want to help. Y'all want to help get everything because it's a part of me at this point. And I will die empty because when I die, I want to leave it to somebody else too. So I have been inspired to you all.
That's the energy we need. Listen, that's what we need. That's why you bringing that. See that energy? I love it. Anybody else? Oh yes, we are doing the slideshow, correct? So we did have, we asked people to send in your artifacts, send in some of those things that you're holding on to as part of preserving our culture. So you want to run that? And you guys can tell me what. Oh, this is for me. Oh, this is my Game Changers video interview series. So during the pandemic, very similar as Vince was saying, I wanted to interview creatives who were in the scene, DJs, producers, artists, and I wanted to find out how they pivoted creatively. I specifically wanted to know what they did in the pandemic after losing all income sources. How did you survive it mentally, emotionally, and financially? So that was my YouTube series. And it was on Twitch too. So Twitch Live, YouTube afterwards. So that was that. Alicia, can you?
So this is just my organization that was founded in 2018. As soon as I got my wheels to the grindstone and I got off and running, it had four facets. It was career development, it was arts, which is the music and DJing side of it. It also had an interesting part of it, which was finance, because I feel like it's very important for us to start teaching our young people about stock investment and this type of thing, especially when the stuff is at your fingertips now. Like you can download Robinhood on your phone and just invest in stock, from your phone. So I actually sat down with my son and I said, hey, what are 10 companies that you would invest in if you had like $1 million? Which companies would you invest in? And his list was a lot different than my list. I had like Ford and Tyson and Kraft, and he had like Tesla and Amazon and Google, and I was like, oh, let me get my list together. So I felt like if we start having those discussions with them early, then we can start making them so, Black people by nature, we've been with the past with stocks and stuff like that, we've just been afraid because we don't understand how it works. And they like, I ain't put my money in there. I'm gonna lose all my money if I invest in stocks or whatever. But if we start teaching the young people how to be savvy about stock investment, so that was really one of the things that really made me want to get the non-for-profit up and running. So we're doing some reconfiguring of the programs now. Danny is gonna help me with the STEM part. Look, I done gave her three more things to do since we've been here. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get back up and running and get my kids together. If anybody wants to talk to me about any mentoring opportunities, that would be great because I need all the help I can get. I need these kids to be able to not just talk to me, but to talk to other people who can offer them advice and guidance through this landfill that we call, life.
All right. Oh. Oh yeah. Can I stand? Like once again, I like talking. So what you see there is uh, taste for the homeless is the future. And I'm gonna tell you why it's the future because I believe in everybody deserve quality. Quality. That's not no bootleg shoe from the thrift store. That's not you can get it at the gas station. That's me networking with these companies and saying my people deserve the best. And when I cook, we don't no pun intended on all these. No, I bring you the best Angus beef, burgers, Polishes. It's the outdoor cafe for not just the less fortunate, but for the world. 7 days a week, every day. I'm around my wife. We in the city of Chicago with a whole cafe with a menu. I hand you that menu. You walk up to me and say, Mike, I'm hungry. I call it the Godzilla burger. It's like 4 patties with everything on it. You can have whatever you want in life if you see me on the street. If I can provide it, you can have it. And if you see the people, you see what we do, the quality. I take pride in what I do with that work of that food. That food is an art to me. I want you to have nothing but the best. Because when I was a kid in the projects, me and my wife, we always dreamed of going downtown, but we didn't know how to get there. We didn't know even that we can get on the 34th and Michigan bus and take it down. We didn't know. But when we got there, the quality of food we couldn't afford. We didn't even know it was 2 different kinds of meat. Always different steaks out here. Just like you give you a bootleg gym shoe, there's a bootleg steak. So I want to give you that T-bone that's real. Angus beef that came from Australia, they didn't call him in the field. I want to give you the quality. We want to give you the best. We want to give you friendship and love, hugs, and let you know that if nobody got you, we got you. We got you. We got you. And you ain't got to worry about nothing. And I want you to know something. Not only do we have you, I know I want to eat throughout the day. So I'm hungry all day. You give me a burger that morning, I still want to eat at night. So at nighttime, I started this thing called Taste for the Homeless Cafe to Go. App is coming out. You can go on this app just like Uber Eats, and you'll be able to purchase this food for free. We bring it to you the same way. Whether you wanted the bridge, the viaduct. Well, Mike, how you know the difference? It ain't up to me to know the difference. If you want to use me, you use me, but somebody else gonna deal with you. But God has put people in my life that's going through the struggle. And I never ran honestly to somebody that used me on the streets just to get the food or to get the shoes. These are legit people that's going through things. I didn't see, I was told not to say his name and I always kept it to. So when this pandemic hit, we had a lot of house DJs that hit rock bottom. And one of them was in a shelter. I didn't even know until I turned around and I'm cooking and he tapped me on the shoulder and I was in shock. And I said, whoa, wait, whoa. I said, no, I got you. I got you. Now he's on his feet and he's doing real well to the point where he comes out and help me. But that's what we have to do. This is what we have to do. We have so much to give but won't because we're selfish. We want it all. You can't take it with you. You can't take that $1 million with you. You can't take that $2 million with you. But you can help the world. You can help change his life. You can help. See, I told you, I'll talk forever. I'm done.
That's a brother that's passionate about helping and serving. I'm mad at that. All right, Vince, what you got?
Oh, you can play. Live from Central Florida Biddies. Woo! Average white guy said, let's go in Atlanta. Let's get him, Scott. Tracy is working it out. Marcus on the screen. Now Sanders on the treadmill after doing the weights. Woo! Sonya.
Who's ready?
Michelle Moore is in. Woo! Let's get him, Hollywood. Donna Newman. Do me a favor, family. I'm gonna bring out a little VA for this. If y'all appreciate the fact that every week is different, and the family just keeps growing, just give me fire in the chat for the cam and the fact we keep it different. Fire in the chat for the cam and the fact that we keep it different. Week number 26. Don't stop. Little VA is here. You see, he's right there, see, man. Whoa! Vicky, let's go. Family, put the one in the chat. Put the one in the chat for Vicky. Put the one in the chat for Vicky. 10,000 steps out.
That glow in the dark hula hoop. That look like so much fun. They telling me me to go to the gym, and I'm like, but a hula hoop, that's a little more fun. And I'm in my house, and the glow in the dark. Put some glitter on it, I'm good. Do we have any other questions before we close it out? I want to thank our incredible panel. Y'all give it up for our panel. Vince Adams, DJ Alicia, Chef Dr. Michael Earhart. Give it up, everybody.
I just wanted to thank you. Again, we are really happy to be live again after 2 years of doing, some of these panels virtually because we had to. We are back, and there will be 3 other live programs across this year. So look out for it. The next one is in June. It will focus on dance. So we'll have some different folks in conversation and actually showing us some dance styles from house and hip hop and stepping. And I'm not sure what the fourth one is going to be. Footwork. Yes. So we'll be live to that. And we just ask you to keep, telling folks about the ChicagoBlack Social Culture Map. We are building the actual digital map, these stories today. We'll go into that map and help make more complex stories. I'm actually teaching a class right now where I'm having my students watch panels and kind of analyze and think about the importance of doing this work. And we want to continue to build this as also a teaching. So thank y'all again. Look out for us. Support the map.
Are you guys collecting constantly collecting archival materials? Can you just quickly tell people where they can send that if they have any memorabilia or things to kind of add to that?
Yeah, so you can reach out to, you can go to the map, ChicagoBlack Social Culture Map, and you can find that through Honey Pot Performance's website, and you can reach out to us that way if you want to submit something. You can also reach out to our general email, honeypotperformance@gmail.com to connect. And then Lauren Lowry, who is one of our archivists, is actually the one who is accepting physical materials. And so we can connect you with her if that's something that you want to contribute as well, not just have a digital thing.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming and attending and listening and contributing, all that good stuff. All right.
Everybody was supposed to, so it was like cracking up about it, but it's like something to try. Not too good. Dwayne's playing at the do you know where that is? It's on 71st. Yeah, right around 71st. It's a repurposed. It used to be a bank, but now it's a museum that houses the Frankie Knuckles collection. Dwayne is playing. What's the address for Stony Island?
6760 South Stony Island.
6760. Okay, and it's from 6 to 8.
Nah, I'm from 8 to 11.
You're from 8 to 11. Okay. But does it start at 6?
Because it's the closing of the exhibit.
Oh, there's an exhibit, right? So they kind of use it as an exhibition space and an event space. So it's a little bit of everything. So the exhibit is from 6 to 8.
The closing of the closing session will be like doing the after party.
Okay. I know. Oh yeah. Oh, you just Okay, are you coming in the next?
Yeah, oh no, this was fun. It was fun. I said, yeah, we was all talking about house music. And I said, the house music, yeah, what it was. Oh, I think it was Follow Me. We were talking about Follow Me, and I said, I like, I hate that damn thing. Yes, you did. No, at first she was like, no, because she was like, because it was so cool that loved it. Because he's like,
I got people on the scale. I mean, not many, but I have enough so that, you know, yes, I was great. Yes.
all right.